The notification sound from Cass's phone cut through the midnight silence like a knife. I'd been lying there for 2 hours, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathe beside me. She'd been acting strange for weeks. Late nights at the office, weekend wellness retreats with Lila, and that new habit of keeping her phone face down everywhere she went. My name is Eli Roman, but everyone calls me Eli. I fix computers and networks for small businesses around our little Maine town of Millbrook. It's honest work that pays decent money, and it's taught me one valuable lesson. People always leave digital footprints when they're trying to hide something. The phone buzzed again. Cass stirred, but didn't wake up. In the dim light from the hallway, I could see the screen lighting up with message after message. My gut twisted with a familiar dread I'd been ignoring for too long. I slipped out of bed and padded to the kitchen, where my laptop sat charging on the counter. Old habits from my IT days. I always kept our finances organized in spreadsheets, backed up to the cloud. Call it paranoia, but growing up poor teaches you to watch every penny. The banking app loaded slowly on our rural internet connection. When it finally appeared, I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. Our vacation fund, the money we'd been saving for 2 years for a trip to Japan, had been cut in half. $5,000 gone. Withdrawn yesterday while I was working a 12-hour shift at the Henderson Medical Center, upgrading their entire network. I scrolled through the transaction history. 3 separate withdrawals over the past week, all from ATMs across town. All while Cass had been telling me she was at yoga class or having dinner with her mother. My hands shook as I opened a new browser tab and logged into my personal account. Within 10 minutes, I'd transferred my half of the vacation fund into my own savings and changed all the passwords. If she wanted to play games with our money, she could play them with her own. The floorboards creaked upstairs. Cass was moving around, probably checking her phone. I closed the laptop and headed back to bed, but sleep was impossible now. My mind raced through possibilities, each one worse than the last. At 6 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. Eli, it's Jules from the Rookery. Jules Martineau had been tending bar at our local dive for 15 years. She knew everyone's business before they knew it themselves. I probably shouldn't be calling, but I thought you should know. Your wife was in here last night with Derek Lawton. They seemed close. Derek Lawton, the smarmy real estate agent who'd tried to convince us to sell our house last year so he could flip it for his developer friends. Ex-high school quarterback who still wore his Letterman jacket to the grocery store at 38. How close? I asked. Close enough that I had to tell them to get a room. I'm sorry, Eli. I really am. I thanked Jules and hung up. Cass was in the shower now, humming some pop song like she didn't have a care in the world. The sound made my skin crawl. When she came downstairs 20 minutes later, wrapped in her pink bathrobe with her hair in a towel, she looked surprised to see me sitting at the kitchen table with my coffee. You're up early, she said, not meeting my eyes. Couldn't sleep. Funny thing happened last night. Someone drained half our vacation fund. Her face went pale, but she recovered quickly. Cass had always been good at thinking on her feet. It's what made her such a successful social media manager for the local businesses. Oh, that. I was going to tell you. Derek needed help with his security deposit for the new office space. It's just temporary. Derek Lawton needed $5,000. His credit's tied up in other investments. I'll get it back next week. Before we deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I sipped my coffee and studied her face. She was lying, and we both knew it. But I was curious to see how deep this rabbit hole went. Interesting, because I called the bank this morning. Turns out those withdrawals happened while you were supposedly at your mother's house helping her with her computer. She started to say something, then stopped. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She grabbed it quickly, but not before I saw Derek's name on the screen. We need to talk, I said. There's nothing to talk about. You're being paranoid. Am I? Then you won't mind if I check your phone. That's invasion of privacy. And stealing $5,000 from our joint account is what exactly? She clutched the phone to her chest. I didn't steal anything. It's my money too. Was. Past tense. I moved the rest of it this morning. The color drained from her face completely now. You can't do that. Actually, I can. Joint account, remember? Either party can make withdrawals or transfers. You taught me that when you cleaned out my savings to pay for your sister's wedding last year. That was different. That was family. And what's Derek? Your yoga instructor? She turned away from me, her shoulders tense. I want you to put that money back. I want a lot of things, Cass. I wanted a wife who didn't lie to me. I wanted to go to Japan for our anniversary. I wanted to trust the person I married, but we don't always get what we want. Her phone buzzed again. This time she answered it right in front of me. I can't talk right now, she said into the phone. He knows. I couldn't hear Derek's response, but I could see Cass's face getting redder by the second. I don't care what you think we should do, she snapped. This is my marriage. She hung up and turned back to me. Fine. You want the truth? Derek and I have been seeing each other. It's not serious. It's just, you've been so distant lately. Always working, always tired. A woman has needs. And one of those needs was $5,000 of our vacation money? He's going through a rough patch. His ex-wife is trying to take him to court over alimony. He needed a good lawyer. I stood up and poured the rest of my coffee into the sink. Pack a bag, Cass. What? You heard me. Pack a bag and go stay with Derek, or Lila, or your mother. I don't care. But I want you out of this house by noon. You can't throw me out. This is my house too. Actually, if you check the deed, you'll find it's in my name. We never got around to adding you after we got married, remember? You said it was too much paperwork. That was a lie. But she'd been lying to me for weeks, so I figured we were even. Her phone rang again. Derek, probably wondering why she'd hung up on him. Don't answer that, I said. You can't tell me what to do. You're right, I can't, but I can tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to call my Uncle Mick, who spent 30 years as a cop in this town. I'm going to have him come over and supervise while you pack your things. Then, I'm going to call a lawyer and start divorce proceedings. And if you or Derek try to cause any trouble, I'm going to make sure everyone in this town knows exactly what kind of person you are. She stared at me like she'd never seen me before. You're not serious. Try me. Her phone rang again. This time, she answered it. He's throwing me out, she said. No, I can't stay there. Your place is too small. A pause. Well, figure something out. This is your fault too. She hung up and glared at me. This isn't over, Eli. Yeah, it is. It's been over for weeks. I was just too stupid to realize it. I walked out of the kitchen and headed for my workshop in the garage. I had some planning to do, and I needed to think clearly. Cass could pack her things and go play house with Derek, but if she thought she was going to walk away from this without consequences, she had another thing coming. I'd spent my whole life being the nice guy, the pushover, the one who always tried to see the best in people. But nice guys finish last, and I was tired of losing. It was time to show my wife and her boyfriend what happens when you mess with the wrong person. Uncle Mick arrived at 11:30, just as I'd promised. He'd been retired from the Millbrook Police Department for 5 years, but he still carried himself like a cop. Tall, broad-shouldered, with gray hair and sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. Heard you're having some domestic troubles, he said, settling into my kitchen chair like he owned the place. Cass has been having an affair with Derek Lawton. She stole $5,000 from our vacation fund to help him with his legal problems. I want her out. Mick nodded slowly. Derek Lawton. That little weasel's been skating on thin ice for years. Had complaints about his business practices, but nothing we could make stick. His daddy's money bought him a lot of protection in this town. Not from me. What are you planning, nephew? I showed him the bank records, the transaction history, Screenshots of Derek's social media posts from the same times Cass claimed to be at family events. Mick studied everything with the methodical attention of someone who'd built cases for 3 decades. "This is good documentation," he said finally. "But what's your endgame here? I want them both to understand that actions have consequences. I'm tired of being the nice guy who gets walked on. Just remember, revenge is a dish best served cold, and legally." Cass came downstairs at noon with 2 suitcases and a face like a thunderstorm. She'd changed into her best outfit, the black dress she wore to job interviews and parent-teacher conferences, trying to look respectable, professional. It almost worked. "Uncle Mick," she said with fake sweetness, "I didn't know you were coming. Eli asked me to supervise, make sure everything stays civil." "How thoughtful." She turned to me. "I need my laptop and my work files. They're in my workshop. I'll get them." "I can get them myself." "No, you can't. The workshop is locked and it's staying that way." Her jaw tightened. "Those are my personal belongings, and they'll be returned to you once I've made copies of anything that might be relevant to our divorce proceedings." "You can't do that. That's illegal." Mick cleared his throat. "Actually, in Maine, any property acquired during the marriage is subject to equitable distribution. Eli has every right to secure potential evidence of marital misconduct." Cass's face went red. "Marital misconduct? I'm not the one throwing my spouse out of their home." "No," I said, returning with her laptop bag and work files. "You're the one who's been lying, cheating, and stealing. There's a difference." She snatched the bag from my hands. "Where am I supposed to go?" "That's not my problem anymore. Maybe Derek can help you figure it out. His place is being fumigated. The whole building is uninhabitable for a week." I shrugged. "There's a nice motel out on Route 9, the Pineview. I hear they have weekly rates." "You're really going to make me stay in a motel?" "I'm not making you do anything, Cass. You made your choices. Now you get to live with them." She looked at Mick, hoping for sympathy. He just stared back at her with cop eyes. "This is ridiculous," she said finally. "I'll be back tomorrow to get the rest of my things. Call first, and bring Derek if you want. I'd like to meet him properly." After she left, Mick and I sat on the front porch drinking beer and watching the neighbors pretend they weren't watching us. "You know she's going to cause trouble," he said. "I'm counting on it. People like Cass and Derek always overplay their hand. They think they're smarter than everyone else." "And you think you're smarter than them?" "I think I'm more patient. And I think I understand this town better than they do." Mick finished his beer and stood up. "Just remember what I said about keeping things legal. You've got the moral high ground right now. Don't throw it away for the satisfaction of getting even." "I won't do anything illegal, Uncle Mick, but I didn't say anything about playing fair." That evening, I drove to the Rookery. It was Wednesday night, which meant the place was half empty, except for the regulars. Jules was behind the bar, wiping down glasses and watching a baseball game on the TV mounted in the corner. "Heard you had some excitement today," she said as I settled onto a bar stool. "News travels fast." "Faster when it involves Derek Lawton. That boy's made enemies all over town. His real estate deals, his wandering eye, his daddy's money buying him out of trouble. People remember." "What kind of enemies?" Jules leaned across the bar, lowering her voice. "The Hendersons lost their family farm because Derek convinced them to take out a second mortgage for improvements, then swooped in when they defaulted. The Pratts got stuck with a lemon house because Derek knew about foundation problems and didn't disclose them. And those are just the ones I know about." "Interesting." "Derek likes to brag when he's been drinking. Last week he was in here talking about some married woman he was seeing. Said she was going to leave her husband for him, bring a nice little nest egg to help with his legal troubles." My grip tightened on my beer bottle. "He said that?" "Word for word. Even took a phone call from her while he was sitting right here, loud enough for half the bar to hear." "Anyone else remember that conversation?" "Honey, in a town this size, everyone remembers everything. The question is whether they're willing to talk about it." I finished my beer and left a 20 on the bar. Thanks, Jules. For everything. Just be careful, Eli. Derek's got connections, but he's also got a temper. And people with tempers make mistakes. Driving home, I thought about what Jules had said. Derek had been bragging about his affair with my wife, treating her like a trophy he'd won. That kind of arrogance was exactly what I was hoping for. Back home, I fired up my laptop and started researching. Derek Lawton had been busy over the past few years. Property records, court filings, business licenses. It was all public information if you knew where to look. By midnight, I had a clearer picture of Derek's finances. He was leveraged to the hilt with 3 different mortgages, 2 business loans, and a pile of credit card debt. The $5,000 Cass had given him was a drop in the bucket compared to what he owed. More interesting was his pattern of relationships. 3 different women over the past 2 years, all married, all with access to their husband's money. Derek wasn't just a cheater, he was running a con game. I printed out everything I'd found and put it in a folder. Then I started making a list of phone numbers. The Hendersons, the Pratts, a few other families whose names appeared in Derek's business dealings. Tomorrow I was going to start making some calls, not to cause trouble, just to share information. After all, in a small town like Millbrook, people deserve to know what kind of man they were dealing with. And if that information happened to make Derek's life more complicated, well, that was just a bonus. Thursday morning brought rain and a series of increasingly frantic voicemails from Cass. I listened to them over coffee, marveling at how quickly her tone shifted from angry to pleading to threatening. Eli, this is childish. Call me back. Look, I know you're upset, but we can work this out. Derek means nothing to me. If you don't return my calls, I'm going to assume you want to make this difficult. That's fine. I can play hardball too. The last message was the most interesting. I talked to a lawyer. You can't just throw me out and steal my money. I have rights. I deleted all the messages and called the first number on my list. Henderson Farm, a woman's voice answered. Mrs. Henderson? This is Eli Roman. I do IT work around town. I was wondering if you had a few minutes to talk about Derek Lawton. There was a long pause. What about him? I'm gathering information for a possible legal case. I understand you had some business dealings with him a few years ago. That snake cost us our farm. Why? What's he done now? I spent 20 minutes listening to Mrs. Henderson's story. Derek had convinced them to refinance their property to pay for barn improvements and new equipment. He'd promised to help them find buyers for their organic produce, connect them with restaurants and farmers' markets. Instead, he'd steered them toward a loan with impossible terms, then bought their farm at auction when they defaulted. He's living in our old farmhouse now, she said bitterly. Turned it into some kind of bachelor pad. Throws parties, brings different women around. It's disgusting. Different women? Oh, yes. Always married ones, from what I hear. He likes the challenge, I guess. Or maybe he just likes spending other people's money. After I hung up, I called the Pratts. Their story was similar. Derek had sold them a house with serious structural problems, then disappeared when they tried to hold him accountable. The foundation issues had cost them $30,000 to fix. By noon, I had talked to 6 different families. The pattern was always the same. Derek would identify vulnerable people, gain their trust, then exploit them for money or property. He was a predator, and my wife was just his latest mark. My phone rang. Cass again. We need to talk, she said without preamble. I'm listening. Not over the phone. Meet me at the diner on Main Street, 1 o'clock. Is Derek coming too? This is between you and me. I arrived at the diner early and chose a booth in the back where we could have some privacy. Cass showed up 10 minutes late, looking tired and stressed. The Pineview Motel apparently wasn't as comfortable as our house. You look terrible, I said as she slid into the seat across from me. I didn't sleep well. That place is a dump. Maybe Derek can find you something better. Her face tightened. That's what I want to talk to you about. This thing with Derek, it's not what you think. Really? What is it then? It's complicated. He's going through a difficult time with his ex-wife. And I was just trying to help a friend. A friend who you were kissing at the rookery? How did you… She stopped herself. Jules has a big mouth. Jules cares about me, unlike some people. The waitress came over and we ordered coffee. Cass waited until she was gone before continuing. I made a mistake, okay? I admit that. But it doesn't have to ruin our marriage. Our marriage was ruined the moment you decided to lie to me and steal our money. I didn't steal anything. I borrowed it. Derek's going to pay it back. With what money? The man's broke, Cass. Completely leveraged. He owes more than he's worth. She looked surprised. How do you know that? Because I spent last night researching him. Property records, court filings, credit reports. It's amazing what you can find when you know where to look. You ran a credit report on Derek? That's illegal. No, it's not. Anyone can request public records. And Derek's records make for fascinating reading. Did you know he's been sued 4 times in the past 3 years? Or that he's facing foreclosure on 2 of his properties? Cass's coffee cup rattled against the saucer as she set it down. You're lying. Am I? Ask him yourself. Better yet, ask him about the other women. The other married women he's been seeing. You're not special, Cass. You're just the latest in a long line of marks. That's not true. I pulled out my phone and showed her the photos I'd found on Derek's social media accounts. Different women at different restaurants, all wearing wedding rings, all looking at Derek like he was the most interesting man in the world. This one is Sandra Mitchell. Her husband owns the hardware store. This is Rebecca Torres. Her husband runs the auto shop on Elm Street. And this is Janet Walsh, married to the guy who owns the pharmacy. Cass stared at the photos, her face getting paler with each swipe. Derek has a type, I continued. Married women with access to money. He romances them, convinces them their husbands don't appreciate them, then talks them into lending him cash for his various emergencies. Stop. The really clever part is how he makes each woman feel like she's the only one, like she's special, like he's going to leave his complicated life behind and run away with her. I said stop, but he never does he? There's always another emergency, another reason to wait, another reason why he needs more money. Cass was crying now, quiet tears that she tried to wipe away without anyone noticing. How much did you give him, Cass? Just the $5,000 from our account. Or was there more? There wasn't any more. Don't lie to me. Not anymore. She took a shaky breath. My credit card. I took a cash advance, $3,000. Jesus Christ. He said it was temporary. He said once his legal problems were resolved, he'd pay everything back with interest. And you believed him? I wanted to believe him. He made me feel important, needed, like I mattered. You did matter, to me. We were married, Cass. We had plans. I know, and I'm sorry. But it's not too late. We can fix this. I finished my coffee and stood up. No, we can't. You chose Derek over me. You chose his problems over our future, and now you get to live with that choice. Where are you going? Home, to my house. You can go back to the motel, or you can call Derek. I don't care which. Eli, please, don't do this. I'm not doing anything, Cass. This is what you did. I'm just refusing to pretend it didn't happen. I left her sitting in the booth, crying into her coffee cup. 3 people at nearby tables had been listening to our conversation, and by evening, half the town would know the details. In a place like Millbrook, that kind of information spread faster than wildfire, which was exactly what I was counting on. Friday evening, I was in my workshop organizing tools when I heard a car pull into my driveway. Through the window, I saw Derek Lawton climbing out of his red BMW. He looked exactly like I'd expected. Tall, athletic build going soft around the middle, wearing an expensive suit that couldn't quite hide the desperation in his eyes. I opened the front door before he could knock. Derek Lawton, I presume. We need to talk, Roman. Sure. Come on in. Can I get you a beer? He seemed surprised by my casual tone. This isn't a social call. I know. But I find these conversations go better with alcohol. Helps people relax, say things they might not otherwise say. I led him to the kitchen and pulled 2 beers from the refrigerator. Derek remained standing, his hands clenched at his sides. Your wife is a wreck, he said. Ex-wife. Soon to be, anyway. And whose fault is that? Look, I know you're angry, but Cass and I didn't plan for this to happen. Sometimes people just connect. Is that what you call it? Connecting? We have feelings for each other, real feelings. I opened my beer and took a long drink. How much money have you taken from her? I don't know what you mean. Sure you do. The $5,000 from our vacation fund, the $3,000 cash advance on her credit card. What else? Derek's face went red. That's between me and Cass. Not anymore. See, Cass doesn't have any money of her own. Everything she gave you came from our joint accounts, which makes it my business. She's an adult. She can make her own decisions. Can she? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you manipulated a lonely woman into funding your legal problems. You don't know anything about my situation. I know more than you think. Foreclosure proceedings on the Riverside property, lawsuit from the Hendersons over the farm deal, 3 different credit cards maxed out. Should I continue? Derek's beer bottle slipped from his hand and shattered on the kitchen floor. How the hell do you know about that? Public records. Amazing what you can learn when you know where to look. You had no right to investigate me. I had every right. You're sleeping with my wife and spending my money. That makes you my business. Derek stepped closer, trying to use his height to intimidate me. I want you to stay out of my affairs. Or what? Or you'll regret it. I laughed. That's your big threat? I'll regret it? Derek, I already regret plenty of things. I regret marrying a woman who turned out to be a liar. I regret working 60-hour weeks to save money for a vacation we'll never take. I regret being nice to people who don't deserve it. But investigating you? That's not one of my regrets. You're making a mistake, Roman. The only mistake I made was trusting my wife. But I'm not making that mistake anymore. Derek looked around the kitchen like he was cataloging everything he saw. Nice house. Be a shame if something happened to it. Are you threatening me? I'm just saying accidents happen, especially to people who stick their noses where they don't belong. I pulled out my phone and showed him the screen. This conversation has been recording for the past 5 minutes. Threatening someone's property is a crime in Maine. My Uncle Mick would be very interested to hear this. Derek's face went white. You're bluffing. Am I? Uncle Mick spent 30 years as a cop. He knows all about guys like you, bullies who think they can intimidate people into backing down. Want me to call him right now? Delete that recording. No. I said delete it. And I said no. What are you going to do about it? Derek looked like he wanted to hit me, but he was smart enough to know that would only make things worse. Instead, he turned and headed for the door. This isn't over, he said. Yes, it is. You just don't realize it yet. After he left, I sat in my kitchen for a long time, thinking about what had just happened. Derek was scared, which meant he was dangerous. Scared people make stupid decisions, and I was counting on Derek to make several. I called Uncle Mick and played him the recording. Sounds like a threat to me, he said. You want to file a complaint? Not yet, but keep this recording safe. I have a feeling we're going to need it. What are you planning, Eli? Nothing illegal, just giving Derek enough rope to hang himself. Saturday morning, I drove to the Pineview Motel. Cass's car was parked outside room 12, next to Derek's BMW. I knocked on the door and waited. Cass answered wearing one of Derek's shirts and a confused expression. Eli? What are you doing here? I brought you something. I handed her a manila envelope. Divorce papers. I had them drawn up yesterday. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. You have 30 days to respond. Derek appeared behind her, shirtless and angry. Get off this property, Roman. It's a public motel, Derek. I have every right to be here. You're harassing us. I'm serving legal papers to my wife. That's not harassment. That's procedure. Cass opened the envelope and scanned the documents. You're asking for everything. The house, the cars, even my retirement account. You stole $8,000 from our joint accounts and gave it to your boyfriend. I'm asking for compensation. I didn't steal anything. Tell it to the judge. Derek stepped forward. You need to leave, now. Or what? You'll threaten my house again? Like you did last night? Cass looked confused. What's he talking about? Nothing. He's trying to cause trouble. I pulled out my phone and played the recording of Derek's threat. Cass's face went pale as she listened to his words. Derek, what is this? He's trying to manipulate you, Cass. Don't listen to him. He's threatening our house. My house. I was angry. I didn't mean anything by it. You threatened to burn down my house because I investigated your finances? I never said anything about burning it down. Accidents happen, especially to people who stick their noses where they don't belong. That's what you said. Cass was staring at Derek like she'd never seen him before. Is this the kind of man you are? You threaten people? Cass, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. Eli was right about you. You're a bully and a con man. That's not true. Then explain the other women. Explain Sandra Mitchell and Rebecca Torres and Janet Walsh. Derek's mouth fell open. How do you know those names? Because my husband showed me the pictures. You've been running the same game on all of us. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think, and I'm done being your victim. Cass pushed past Derek and started throwing clothes into a suitcase. I'm going to my sister's house in Portland. Don't follow me. Cass, wait. Leave me alone, Derek, and stay away from my husband. She brushed past me on her way to her car, pausing just long enough to whisper, "Thank you." Then she was gone, leaving Derek standing in the doorway of a cheap motel room, wearing nothing but boxer shorts and a look of complete defeat. "This is your fault," he said. "No, Derek, this is yours. You made the choices that led us here. Now you get to live with the consequences." I walked back to my truck, feeling lighter than I had in months. The marriage was over, but at least now Cass knew the truth about the man she'd thrown it away for. And Derek? Derek was about to learn what happened when you messed with the wrong person in a small town where everybody knew everybody else's business. The fun was just getting started. Monday morning brought unexpected visitors. I was having coffee on my front porch when 3 cars pulled into my driveway. The first was Uncle Mick's pickup truck. The second belonged to Tom Henderson, whose family had lost their farm to Derek's schemes. The third was a police cruiser. "Morning, Eli," Mick said as they approached. "We need to talk." "What's going on?" Officer Janet Reeves, whom I'd known since high school, stepped forward. "We're here about Derek Lawton. He filed a complaint against you yesterday claiming harassment and stalking." I laughed. Harassment? I served divorce papers to my wife and had one conversation with him in my own kitchen. "He says you've been following him, investigating his private affairs, and threatening his livelihood." "Did he mention the part where he threatened to burn down my house?" "He claims you fabricated that recording." I pulled out my phone and played the audio again. Officer Reeves listened carefully, taking notes. "This does sound like a threat," she said, "but Derek claims you edited it to make him sound worse. The original file is on my phone with a timestamp. Your tech people can verify it hasn't been altered." Tom Henderson stepped forward. "Officer Reeves, I don't know about any recordings, but I can tell you Derek Lawton is a snake. He cost my family our farm with his lies and manipulation." "That's a civil matter, Mr. Henderson." "Maybe. But fraud isn't civil, and neither is what he's been doing to married women around this town." Mick cleared his throat. "Janet, we've been friends for a long time. You know Eli's not the kind of person who would harass anyone without good reason." "I know that, Mick. But I have to investigate all complaints regardless of who makes them. Of course. But maybe you should investigate Derek's complaints too, starting with his business practices. Officer Reeves looked uncomfortable. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that a man who makes his living cheating people might not be the most reliable witness. I invited everyone inside and made a fresh pot of coffee. For the next hour, Tom Henderson told his story about losing the family farm. Then I showed Officer Reeves the documentation I'd gathered about Derek's other business dealings. This is all public record, I explained. Property transfers, court filings, business licenses. I didn't hack into anything or break any laws. But you did share this information with other people. I shared it with people who had been harmed by Derek's actions. They had a right to know. And that's when Derek's troubles really started, wasn't it? I shrugged. I can't help it if people decided to take action based on accurate information. What I didn't tell Officer Reeves was exactly how much action people had taken. Over the weekend, Derek had received visits from several of his former victims. The Pratts had filed a complaint with the State Real Estate Commission. The Hendersons had contacted a lawyer about reopening their case, and Sandra Mitchell had told her husband about Derek's attempts to seduce her. The result was a perfect storm of legal and social consequences. Derek's real estate license was under review. His creditors were demanding payment, and half the town was talking about his predatory behavior toward married women. Look, I said to Officer Reeves, Derek made his own problems. I just gave people information they should have had all along. And the recording of him threatening your house was made in my own kitchen, with my own phone, during a conversation he initiated, perfectly legal in Maine. Officer Reeves finished her coffee and closed her notebook. I'll need a copy of that recording for my report. Of course. After they left, I sat on my porch and watched the neighborhood wake up. Mrs. Patterson was walking her dog. The Morrison kids were waiting for the school bus. Everything looked normal, peaceful. My phone rang. Cass. I heard Derek filed a complaint against you, she said. News travels fast. Are you in trouble? No. The police investigated and found his complaints were baseless. How are you doing? Better. Staying with my sister has given me time to think. About us, about Derek, about the mistakes I made. And I know I hurt you. I know I betrayed your trust and threw away something good for something that was never real. Yes, you did. I want to make it right, Eli. I want to come home. I was quiet for a long moment, watching a hawk circle overhead. The divorce papers are still valid, I said finally. I know, but maybe we don't have to use them. Maybe we can work through this. Can we? Because trust isn't something you can just fix with an apology. It's something you build over years and destroy in moments. I know that, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Even if that means giving up Derek completely. No contact, no friendship, nothing. Derek is out of my life forever. I promise. And the money you gave him? I'll get it back somehow, even if I have to take him to court. I thought about her offer. Part of me wanted to say yes, to try to rebuild what we'd had. But a larger part knew that some things, once broken, could never be truly repaired. I need time to think about it, I said. How much time? I don't know. Maybe a lot. I understand. I'll wait. After I hung up, I went inside and looked at the divorce papers on my kitchen table. Cass was willing to come back, to try again. But did I want her to? The woman who had lied to me, stolen from me, and betrayed me with another man, was she the same person I'd married? Or had I just never really known her at all? My phone buzzed with a text message from Uncle Mick. Derek's BMW was repossessed this morning. Thought you'd want to know. I smiled and deleted the message. Derek's house of cards was finally collapsing, and he had no one to blame but himself. The man who had made a career of exploiting other people's trust was learning what it felt like to lose everything. As for Cass and me, That was a decision for another day. Right now, I was content to sit in my quiet house, drink my coffee, and watch the world go by. For the first time in months, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged. The phone rang again. This time, it was Jules from the rookery. "Eli, you need to get down here. Derek's here, and he's drunk and angry and talking about you." On my way, I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. Apparently, Derek hadn't learned his lesson yet, but that was okay. I was a patient teacher,